Hello again, and I hope you are doing well. So, you know my name, Francisca Anene, and I'm the one taking you legal drafting and conveyancing. This is another subject on the course. And of course, I know that as you take part one after one topic after the other, you're getting better, you are becoming excellent drafters, you are mastering the art of legal writing, and you are becoming more skillful. So let's see what today's topic has for us to learn, and let's make progress. Progress is going to be on both ends. You will need to listen, take notes, pay attention, answer the questions, take part in all the activities, and I will also do the teaching and I will answer whatever questions you have during our online class. So let's not waste time. Let's just go. Okay. So by the end of this lesson, you should be able to mention different types of formal documents that you will need to draft as a lawyer, and you should be able to discuss the technicalities and skills required to draft the different types of documents. Letters. Letters are, of course, written communication, a permanent record. It's not something you can erase. And then it may be written by you as a lawyer to your client or to someone else on the instruction of your client. And there are many purposes for which you write letter as evidence, for demand for notice, on behalf of your client. There are three basic types of letters. You have the formal letter, the semi-formal letter, and the informal letter. For the purpose of legal drafting and conveyancing, you will be taught how to write a formal letter because that's what you will do in your capacity as a lawyer. Let's look at formal letters. Formal letters are also known as business letters. They are used for official communication. So the kind of language you use is very important. No colloquial English, no jokes, nothing. Standard formal English language is what you use. There are three basic styles that you can use when you are doing different styles that you can use when you are writing formal letters. You can use the open punctuation style or the closed punctuation style. Open style means you minimize punctuation marks, so you don't put commas at the end of every line and all of that. Close means you are strict with punctuation, you put everything where they are supposed to be. Block or semi-block refers to the way the format, the way the letter looks. So block means your paragraphs are in blocks, you don't indent, right? And then semi-block means that your paragraphs, you indent, your paragraphing and all of that. Now, the modern style of writing a formal letter is to use block format and open punctuation. So your paragraphs are lines, no indentations, and then of course you reduce all the punctuation. So for the layout of your formal letter, first thing, you should have a letterhead. So if you are asked to draft a formal letter, it's expected that you will draft a letterhead. But don't take too much time going into, if for exam purpose, don't take too much time going and doing a lot of drafting. A simple letterhead will do, just showing your name and your address and all that. And then your letter should have a reference number, a date, the name and address of the recipient. If there's someone you have been communicating with, then you attention the person's name as well. Your salutation, which is usually dear sir or dear madam, depending on who you are talking to. Then the heading. Of course, the heading is usually stated in capital letters, underlined if you want, or you could just leave it in capital letters. And then if you are replying to a letter, you must remember to put re. And then for the body of your letter, you introduce the topic first, what you're talking about, then you give the details, and then you close. Then for closing, you use formal closing, yours faithfully, not yours truly or best regard or best wishes. Okay, and then you put your, first of all, you write on behalf, if you are writing for a firm, so you say for so 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 firm, and then you sign, and then you put your name underneath. Please note, your signature comes before your name in a formal letter. And then if you are writing, you are sending a copy of the letter to someone else, you put your CC, that's copy. Or if you are enclosing any documents, you put that word enclosure to show that there are other documents enclosed. Right? Now, note that when you're writing letters, you may need to use words of negotiation. Words of negotiation are used to avoid your letter being held to be binding when you are still negotiating. The point is, you may need to communicate formally in writing in the course of negotiation or discussion, and you want to be able to show that this was done in the course of discussion. This is not my final offer. So there are two major ones. There is subject to contract, meaning we are still negotiating. And then there's without prejudice, meaning I am just talking to you, I'm discussing with you in writing, but you cannot tender this letter in evidence. If you use any of these two words, you must state it in capital letters at the top of the letter, and then you must also refer to it in the body of the letter. Now let's take an activity. I need you to discuss the layout of a formal letter. So think about it and I'll give you some time to answer it. So moving on now, memorandum, memo. A memo simply means something to remember. It's used for internal communication within the organization. So usually you will keep with whatever the in-house style is, right? It is short and you may have a paper memo or an electronic memo. There are many advantages for using memo. There's speed of communication, there's convenience, there's the ease of distribution, and then there's security. The fact that what's internal stays internal. Now, as to the layout of your memo, you have the heading. So the from, the to, and then the through. Through is used where you as maybe a subordinate need a superior to approve before you can send your memo forward. Then your date, your reference number, and your subject. And then to the body of your memo, you go straight to the point. So you state the reason for your memo, you give any details that are necessary, and then you also state if there's any desired action, and then you write your name and you sign. Please note that you don't do your salutation with memo. All those dear sir, dear madam, not necessary with memo. And then you don't do your complimentary closing, no yours faithfully or yours truly or whatever with memo. Okay, then a legal opinion. A legal opinion is a document you write in response to inquiries from your client. Your client has to expressly say, please do me an opinion on this, advise me, and then you do a legal opinion. It's very formal. So basically, it advises your client on the implication of an action is about to take or the strength and weakness of the case. And then, of course, when you are drafting a legal opinion, it's like drafting. Remember what we talked about legislative drafting in step one and in lesson one. You have to interview the client, you have to take clear instructions, you have to analyze the information you have received, you have to classify the facts, you have to do your research, and then you have to settle down and write, edit if necessary, correct, and all of that. Very important. And then format of your legal opinion. So you have an introduction which basically refers to the discussions you had which prompted your client to ask you to send an opinion. And then you state the facts that you have distilled from your client's instructions. And then the third part is the answer to the question, but it's called the conclusion for the purpose of what we are learning now. So you answer the question that your client wants answered, and then you explain your answer with the aid of supporting authorities, legal authorities, like you're writing, a legal, answering a legal question. But don't make it too technical, right? And then you close. Your closing is usually your recommendation on what your client should do. Please note that for legal opinion, the conclusion does not come last as you would for an essay. For Okay, and then a report. Another very formal document which is used by a committee to is submitted by a committee at the conclusion of whatever assignment was given based on the terms of reference which established the committee. And there are many types of reports. It can be oral, it can be extended formal report, it can be a short formal report, it can be a short informal report, it can be a minority report, it can be a memorandum report. The main point why a report is different from a letter or memo and all that is because a report is more detailed. When we look at the body now, you will understand what we mean. It gives very detailed information on the work that the committee or individual has been given, the assignment they've been given. Format. You see, it has a cover page, it has a title page, it has a table of contents. Remember, we talked about details, so it will run into several pages. It has an abstract, which is a summary, of all that is stated in the report. Some people call it the executive summary. It states the terms of reference, kind of limiting that this is what we are working with. These are the instructions under which we worked, right? And then it talks about the procedure that was, taken in getting to doing the job that you were given, and then the findings, and then it concludes, and then there are recommendations. So all of these, from the terms of reference, procedure, findings, and conclusion and recommendation, are all what you distill and put in the abstract, or as I said, executive summary. And then at the end of the report, you have the appendices if you have any, and bibliography if you also have any. So now let's do our second activity. I need you to discuss the format of a legal opinion. So I'll give you a few seconds to think about it, and then we will end the class. All right? We have come to the end of this lesson, and what we have learned the different types of documents a lawyer will be required to draft, that you need to learn and get used to drafting. Remember, we said letters, memos, opinions, reports. All right? And then the uses of these different types of documents, we talked about them, the technicalities and skills that you will be required to display, we talked about them, and the formats for these different types of documents, we also talked about them. As usual, you can always view the video, you can go back and look at it, and if you have any question, please feel free to post it on the discussion forum and we'll talk about it. So I'll see you at the next class.